Sorry. I sneezed. Oh, sorry. Bless you. May the Lord keep you fancifully fresh and draped up in many drippy draperies of the best variety. We're working on subtlety today. The word of the day is not subtlety, but we are working on subtlety. I'll fancifully mention a wink and a glance in the direction of the correct way to handle and approach. But it turns out, in fact, that I woke up like this. Just like this. I was like, where am I? And then I realized, oh yeah, change of scenery. Thank God I'm out of the fucking north and west part of the financial district of San Francisco. Yeesh. I mean, the financial district is fine and it's close to my company Google, but I just don't like the crowd, I guess. I don't know what it was about that place, but it was just not fanciful nor fresh enough. And spooky ghosts tried to follow me. So I said, no, spooky ghost, no, you don't. You don't do that, you spooky ghost, you spooky ghost. And it's like, I know, I'm a spooky ghost. My job is to protect you. They called me a spook. And I was like, oh, okay, spooky ghost. I'm gonna have to deal with you later. But in the time temporary, you keep up the good work. Yeah, I like spooky ghosts. I have a personal preference towards spooky things. I just don't like when they spook me. That's all. It's like, I'm not afraid of your magic. Your voodoo does not bother me. But your incantations themselves, the effect they have, it's sometimes not in my best of interest to be a part of. Witches, you know? Witches and ghouls and goblins and spooky spellcasters and fortune tellers and, you know, bank money millionaires. And then Richards! Gotta find them Richards. They are dicks indeed. But it's better to be a dick than it is to be on one, in fact. So, at this point, I'll make do with what I have. And I am what I am. So, I was taking care of business, anyway, taking care of business every day. And I had to go downstairs, gross, and make do with the help yet again. Because they follow me around and I'm truly, honestly running out of excuses for them as to whatever it is that they are doing that is not trying to get just straight fucked. Like, and that's what it is. They're queer faggots and they're trying to get like a souvenir or like a gift. Or like a swag bag, or some stupid shit, or something, some reason, there's some reason. It's not, honestly, I don't think it is because they think they can win. I just don't. I think it's because they know what's gonna happen, and like, they want it to happen. That's what I think. So, I had to post one on the airways, like, you know, in the current form and fashion of this, as to make mention and fair warning, and as my friend downstairs was saying, in good faith. It's just for good faith, you know. It's for good faith, you know. It's just for good faith. That's all. But for good faith and for faith and for good faith, I had to make mention that, like, no, you're not. You're not gonna win. I don't know why. I just know I'm not gonna lose. How's that? And you're gonna try to combat me to go against me. Well, I will make short work of you. And I hear no appropriate, nor acceptable, nor, like, even grammatically correct reasons as to why such adversity. Why such just utter malfeasance and malcontent and mismatch of a mismatching to mishmash something, some sort of argument as to why they think they can talk at me like that. They're gross. They're gross. I want to smack them in the head so bad. Just so bad. But, nah. I get in trouble. And I got the spooks on me, so I gotta keep it kosh magosh for them alphabet boys. Because they really do. They're the real, they're the real muscle men behind the scenes. You know? They mix in the studio. They do. They keep it pretty safe down the stream. You know? And keep those nasty pond pissers and scum suckers up on that side of things to weed it jaw from where we reside. Don't have to contest with such germs. But if I might offer just a hair of advice to those who know what it is to have such a distaste for authority of all forms, that, I mean, really, it's an inherent distaste of authority. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just what it is. I would urge us, as myself, as I try to every day, to reconsider what it is as authority. And I only know this because, well, both of my folks are authority figures in and of themselves, and they too are them alphabet boys in some variants of another, but mostly the not going to get you in trouble part, the non-criminal, but the civil faction. Clandestine, if you will. The ones of those variety are especially fun if they mind the bureaucratic nonsense and cut the red tape before getting down to business. Or that brass tacks ain't gonna be much of that left over when you get to talking turkey. So, you cut them off at the wing, offer them a leg and a thigh, see if they like dark meat, and if they do, then you carry on as normal perks might dictate. But authority is in their organization. It just is. It has to be, in order for we to reside here, which is in fact America, specifically, and legally. Thank goodness. And I went to Starbucks yesterday, and I had a very good discussion with the spirit of George Washington. And he happened to lay upon very wise words in my head, from those that I could recall from history, and from those of which struck me in the form of inspiration. And granted, I didn't know the man well enough to make any sort of claims of any sort of anything but sheer admiration. And my impression is that he himself, George Washington, mind you, George Washington would have done nothing differently. Nothing at all. I mean, and that to me is why he's impressive. That to me is why he is one of my many heroes of American history. Because despite all these card carrying, fanatics and bringers of the revolution, as we espouse, we all have a thing in common, and that's an inherent patriotism that lends itself to law and order and authority that is found in democracy and freedom. And those things, I believe, the Constitution is all about. It's not the idea. The idea is not new. It is not a novel idea. It is nothing that hasn't been tried before, but rather the consistency of that which is professed as an ideal. It's how often and how much you do what you say you are to do, or you do, or you claim about. It's really how much you do it that is the measure of whether or not that is an accurate statement. Most people, they will hold truths and they'll hold ideals and faith and belief and all sorts of qualities and characteristics that they find intrinsic in their self-being or their self-awareness or their personality. And then when it comes right down to it, when it actually matters, when the rubber hits the road and, time is ticking and performance is being checked, a lot of people just don't carry those requirements into fruition. And mostly what I see is that they don't believe that it is necessary. They weigh the trial and error of their previous attempts against the immediate reward of that which is said to arrive at the conclusion of whatever the issue might be. And they choose not to because they see it as a risk-reward evaluation. I don't think that is usually a very good approach in personal matters. In business, it's very good. And in battle, it's extremely good. And in your household, it is too also a beneficial way of approaching anything. But when it comes to your personal credence, your credit, your motto, your bravado, your emotions, when it comes to your off-the-cuff remarks as to just your normal day-to-day, how you are and behave and act intrinsically as you, when it comes to that stuff, I think it's a waste of time to do any sort of cost analysis when it comes to interaction. If you're just sitting and lounging, well, fuck, I'm not going to put on for my fucking window, but when it comes to going to the bathroom, I'm not going to weigh the steps that it takes to get there. I'm probably just going to piss in the sink. If I want to. Sure. Sometimes. But I always wash my hands before going outside. Always. Usually. Unless I forget. And that's what this is all about. How much we forget versus how much we know. We could know all sorts of things, but if you forget how much you know, would you ever be able to remedy that? I only ask because most people don't realize that their taillights are out until either they get pulled over or somebody informs them. Now, sometimes you will catch it before anyone else does, but is it worth running the risk of just what? I mean, is there really anything that you can specifically in that case? No. Except for the just openness, I suppose, of the situations in the future and the situation at the present, if you have to come to the realization of anything. Is there I believe it's really only that. At the present, you can even do anything at all in regards to anything. You can make plans, you can make formulations, you can plot it out, you can do your research, you can do your homework, you can study, you can examine the past and put together a spreadsheet and correlate data and then calculate the figures and mock up a draft of some sort of an idea of a formulation of how to do something. But in the process, it will be your hand that strike that nail on the head with your hammer. And if you blame your tools, well, you're not sifting through the analogy quite carefully enough. You must dig. I could have just said, you must to dig. I thought that is what I said. But I believe that that is some sort of Freudian in and of itself. If it does serve purpose, I hope that I am making my point loud and clear. Rather, you must to perform at the said time and place in accordance with what you wish to do. Otherwise, you're just winging it. You got lucky. And you're doomed not to get lucky again as often. It's like a really good quote by, I believe it was Jack Nicholson. Not Jack Nicklaus, but Jack Nicholson. He said, "What, you think I'm a clown?" In which I responded, "No, sir. I just thought you were good at golf. I'm sorry." And so we carried on to the seventh hole. No, but he did play a joker one time. Bane said something about that. It was hilarious, and so I blew some wind at his back and said, "Here, have some sun." Anyways. Oh! And De Niro and Pacino, yo, they were looking fucking good the other day. They were just, I don't know, looking good, I guess. Yeah, on like some show. I don't recall, but they were reminiscing about The Godfather, and the series is a trilogy, and I said something about how Coppola, you know, he was a good director, but Apocalypse Now should have been called Apocalypto. But I don't remember Mel Gibson having such quaint eyes. They were very, very purpose-serving, I thought. I don't know if he bounds around and rubs his nipples. He might. But if he does, I would most assuredly like to meet him. He did put together one of my favorites. Lethal Weapon. Especially 9. The ninth. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that Danny DeVito was my spirit animal. And so, actually, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I like how they use the original language. Stephen Colbert tried that one time, didn't pan out as well. But that was at a different hotel. I had the luxury of an auto shop being behind me then. Those those drills really do the trick when it comes to nailing down a point, in fact. But I digress. This time. That's what I thought then as well. Anyways, when we are to look into the future, it is silly to harken back, unless it is in a recollection of thought. That is to say, you're going to. You're just going to. You're going to make the assumption of anything as you recall the events as they were. As you delve into the past, into the topic of whatever it was that you were to do. Whether that is, in fact, the mission, motive, priority, protocol of your thought process when it comes to next go-round, or today, later on, or tomorrow, as it is commonly known, and as I like to think, is of very little significance nor debate. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone, no one. And I never used to think that way until I was threatened with death. But I haven't yet died, so I can't really talk too much on the topic of death. Aside from that, there is always that fear of failure, of losing, of loss. And that is that which might or might not lay in the cards for us tomorrow. I hope that is a novel discussion, because the debate and the topic has been that which has been discussed forever, for always, for since there was, for as long as there has been life, for as long as there has been, since the beginning, an end, an omega, to the alpha of the start, as to a conclusion, as to that point in which that's that. There has always been. I believe there always shall be. Forever and forevermore, and longer, plus a day, if you are whom you claim to be. And I hope that my name entails just precisely that. One more day, one more anything, one more smoke, one more for the road, one more until then, one more at last, one more at least, one more at the point, one more start, one more finish, one more ago, one more around, one more, just one more. And then, if I had 3 wishes, my first of which would be to wish for infinity wishes, plus one more. And I'd hold that GD to that agreement after I finished my other wish. Needless to say, that's not usually a fair trade nor arrangement to begin with. But you see, more than anyone, yes. But you see, whoa! More than anyone knows, yes. I suppose we'll leave that cracked. Death is a many splendid thing when drawing upon it in theory. For if we don't make death that which we know, it is sure to haunt us in all places in which we are not familiar. And then it shall linger, and it shall become might burdensome, and might frightful, and might something in which controls us, or at least it might, if at all, if we let it. The trick is not to let it. And it was not George Washington, but rather Roosevelt, I believe, who was also a military commander, who served his nation well and was afforded the luxury of becoming that which governed the province that he fought and bled and killed and led many men to die for. Many men, many men, many men. It was he, I believe, who said that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And if it was not him, George Washington would have never known that. Or at least he would have never said that. Or at least he would have never been known to say that. No, George Washington was a much quieter man who believed a lot more in thinking, deep, deep thinking, as opposed to outspoken construction of thought. And it is just that separates the two hemispheres of your mind, whether in fact you are outspoken or whether still waters run deep. I think there is a trade-off there, and I think that it is that in which death capitalizes on. The separation in division inherent in most things. Why there is a division, I have no idea. I have a guesstimate. I have a appropriation of thought as to why, and I have my reasons that lead me to believe that there are separations for a very good reason. Very good reason. It's perception, perspective, and, varying opinion in contrast with the sum of all parts as a whole. You must to divide and conquer. Or you must to not place all of your eggs in one basket. Or you must to know your role and play it well. While your energies and expenditures catch up. In whatever various form and capacity they are allowed. I think that it is that which we do not know that is, in fact, the true measure and test of our self-might. Whether we are able to know how to react and respond and behave to a certain situation is not up to we to determine in advance. But I do believe that we might be able to control it. Through proper Procedural etiquette. I was almost certain I heard it land. And in fact, it just might have. Someplace else. Currently, I hope it served the purpose in that there is always another way to approach that which you do not need. I had to wake up this morning like that because I had to go buy a lighter. I bought this one. I found this one. And I chose not to throw away my other one any other way. That is very much how death finds us, is unaware and unknowing in regards to that which we have not yet bested nor attempted to achieve and accomplish through progression and self-preservation and through the enjoyment of. When compared to life, all of those are certain. All of those that are dead are certain. Life is not certain. Tomorrow is not certain. Right now is right now. And everything up to this point leads me to believe there will be death, always, as there always has been. And for me to think that that shouldn't affect I, which chooses to participate now and up to this point, and again tomorrow, hopefully in a certain accord in which I've followed thus far, that is not limited by my thought of how I have handled myself. If I want to do it again tomorrow, I'll have to assume I'll only have to get better. And on that I pray, aloud, to profess what my ears might catch, because that is a whole nother factory of sense that will lead my mind onto the right way, not necessarily unto the finish line, but rather to the gates at which I might prepare myself in whatever way to do what I think is right. And I'm the type that really likes to nestle up and nudge into the way in advance to find them gates for myself. So I know where to ride when I get there, line up, take my mark, hit my cue, stride my foot, and fetch another 1-2-1-2 in the same heel-toe according and casual to however the situation might allow and however my determination permits. It is those higher virtues or traits or characteristics or thoughts or feelings or emotions or those higher qualities that are consistent that shall prevail. If they're inconsistent or if they are ill-fraught or not well advised or unplanned in the process, procedure, and execution, then that's what I'll be left with as my lot to contend as. And anything with, anything better, will best mine right quick and leave me out to dry. It is a tale of many, 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 and it always has a moral and lesson to teach. And it is that lesson that we, in the land of the living, of today, in the moment that look to the past, draw upon as our lessons. Because there's little left else but lesson. There is little left else to draw upon. There is little else to leave in death. But that which we that don't, at least not at the same time, choose to find and pick up and use, just as death did today. And that is our agreement. It's what we do, and that is the business that is conducted with death. It's a right shame that that is the only business that death allows us, but it is a fact in which we still benefit in any way. However, and regardless, it's what we are afforded to do because we did not have that arrangement just as of yet. If it seems unfair, it is. If it seems like we're getting hosed, we are. If it seems like you didn't agree to that, you did. And you do. Every waking and with every last, until there is no more next. In which case, it's not a piper you'll have to pay. It is a ferryman. And it is that which you bring with you that he shall collect. And it is not that which you have had in the past that will determine whether that shall indeed suffice. Rather what you left, I think. I never used to think it would matter as much. I never used to pay much mind nor credence or even casual concern to that until I was forced to. And that's usually how it is with all things that aren't life, inherent at birth. You come in with what you get. The rest is up to you. And the price is that you'll run out somewhere along the way. Whether or not you left it in the right place. That is why many prayed That, if anything, is why I try to do as I do, and leave that unto I, for those, and whomever, to find in well place. Because regardless of the approach, if it never gets to the altar, you can't consider it a sacrifice. Or it might just be a shotgun wedding. The result shall be the only determinant. So, you don't need to know exactly what to do, but it is a good advice and well received and well accepted notion that you can't get to where you want to go unless you know where you want to be. Then plotting and planning and preparation and mapping and apportionment and approximation and calculation and determination and all of those things in which we can control will be called into question. The fun part is how you'll spend it. And that is the time it takes. For you to realize you don't have all the time in the world. So make do with what you do. And make sure that you are sure of that which you do. That should work. And if it does, that is what we like to think prayer and success meet and determine. Your planning and preparation and all that you have brought in the meantime, those are the things in which you shall retain, regain, or reinvest as profits. In the meantime, utilize your assets and put your motives to work for yours. It's a placement. It could be a set, only if it's there for the upswing though. Time is a many fickle thing, and opinions get in the way and disguised as not necessarily options, but rather interests. And then hopefully those things of higher quality or calling or qualitative design will fall in place, and you shall find those angels are much more powerful when allowed the right place to land after they fall. if death shall hap to creep up, know that it just might seem quicker, but by no means is it faster. And that is, all things considered, exactly as I know them to be. So, on a lighter note, I hope we can focus on this life aspect and the death, true death, the actual death, remains to be seen. Wouldn't that be great? I think it'd be great. If you want to believe that you are unable to not turn face onto that which might inspire, hold that belief to be true. Regardless, hold it to be true. And just pray that one day you will have eyes to see, ears to have, and ears to do with as you shall, with whatever you might. And if you want only for love and for life. Just those. That's all we concern ourselves with. Everything else is a task. And if you are in fact a tool suitable to carry out such an advance, I pray unto you to see as we see, and to know that George Washington, as far as I'm concerned, was the wealthiest American, was the most best of any president, was the one, the only George Washington, who did more for this place than anyone ever in America. Because, not necessarily of what he did, but it was because of what he did when he decided to not be king. He was asked to be king. They wanted him to be king, and he chose to be a president. It's never been done before. Never in human history. Never ever. Of any land, let alone as huge as North America. United States. Massive. As big as almost Europe. All of Europe, which were tiny provinces. All of it. Everything, from sea to shining sea. And he chose to govern as opposed to own. And he owned slaves, and he governed his plantation, and he could have, and we should have, and rightly so, and most likely, and that therefore, and because of, he chose not to. We had escaped tyranny in Britain. We had conquered the redcoats. We had advanced our position, held our ground, found ourselves to be virtuous and true, and had conquered, won, and divvied up the day into 13 colonies, of which united representation was necessary, and under which all of those patriots, all of those men, regardless all of those soldiers and fighters and livers and dyers and believers and artists and Smiths and Carters and Jacob and all of them. All of those that had most usually a name that indicated their profession and craft, and otherwise came here to do the same thing and carry it on in their namesake, to their lineage, as however they do. We all would have been a little bit less free if that were the case. Tyranny. That would have been what we would have been subject to. Tyranny. Not freedom. Opposite of that. Enslavement, entrapment, enclosure, and encampment, and affixed, bound, and gagged to our afflictions as to the pursuits of happiness. Whether it was life, liberty, or property, or whether we just wanted to take a stroll in a park, you know? I don't know if you've ever been captive of anything, a creature that prefers enclosure, or if you've ever had the misfortune of getting ensnared in anything, but it's when you don't have it. That's death. And it's early, and it's often. You never want it. Never again, and you never get anything but more of that, whatever the death is at the time, when it's only ever just a shortage. It sucks. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and quite honestly, I won't. I will not. Not for that. So I woke up like this. I just got my lighter today. It's got annoying. It sucks. But hopefully, ace to the face. I hope. And then, poppy seed muffins. No. There's still yet a long way. And there are still many battles to be won, and there are still fights to be determined, decided, and fray to fall into. So, until then, I am away back to my writing desk with my raven at the ready, and I shall meet you at the ink well. Until then, a fond farewell and adieu unto you and yours. And to mine I say, until then.